Okay. Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are recording this presentation today so that we can share it with some of our other counseling friends that could not make it today. So just be mindful of that. If you have questions, please place your questions in the chat. Monica will be monitoring the chat box to read your questions, and then she will alert me to let me know what questions are coming up and popping up. And of course, we'll have our contact information at the very end where you can contact us too. But actually, all of you guys on this training today know exactly where to find us. So that contact information will be for other people that are outside of this training. So I'm going to begin by sharing my screen and taking you to our PowerPoint that we're going to be starting with today. So just bear with me. Monica, if you'll tell me when it's up, okay? Yep, okay. All right, so welcome to Lone Star Awards, an overview of bronze, silver, and gold. So I'm going to begin with just explaining what the purpose is of the Lone Star Awards. As you guys know, we have a national award by the American School Counselor Association that's called RAMP. But everyone knows RAMP is like really intense, really detailed, and there's a lot of work to it. So the Lone Star State School Counselor Association decided that maybe it would be a good idea to chunk pieces so that we can eventually get to RAMP. And so that's how the road to RAMP got started. This is how it was put together. It was put together because we know how busy counselors are, and we thought, what if we just, make a progressive model that will get them there over a span of time. So if you have never applied to any award through Lone Star, you would begin with bronze. Bronze is the first award. Then it progressively moves up to silver, and you'll feel, the intensity kind of grow there. And then when you move on to gold, then it's really, when you apply for gold, you're really applying for RAMP. Everything is identical. And by the way, the bronze, silver, and gold are aligned to everything that ASCA has put out. So for the bronze award, and I just want you to kind of get it in your mind where you are on this road. For bronze, you are completing all 10 sections. We are using the 4th edition of the ASCA National Model, and we are completing all 10 sections, but we're only completing the forms in bronze. So whatever the rubric is asking you for, that is what you are completing. What you do not do in bronze is any of the reflections. If I remember correctly, there is a reflection required for each of the 10 sections. In bronze, there are no reflections. It's just the paperwork, the forms, the templates, your supplemental documentation, graphs if it asks for a graph. So that's bronze in a nutshell. Moving over to silver, you're going to do all that same stuff that you did for bronze, but you're going to add the first 5 reflections. And then moving on to gold, you're going to do all of that, the first 5 reflections and the last 5 reflections, which is basically all of it. Okay. If anybody's wondering if you have to go through this route, the answer is no. It's optional. You can go this route. We think it makes it easy on counselors to follow this route, but you're not bound to this. If you decide tomorrow that you just want to dive into RAMP, then you go for it, and we will help you get there if we can. So how do you apply? I'm just going to go over the applicant checklist with you so that you understand kind of the process of what needs to happen. So first, you'll have to visit the LASCA website at www.lasca.wildapricot.org, and you'll download the following forms. You'll download this applicant checklist that I'm going over with you. Then you'll download the original rubric for whatever level, bronze, silver, or gold. Then you'll download the modified rubric. The modified rubric is something that ASCA put out in light of COVID-19. They had to make some adjustments for those people that are applying for RAMP this October. And so we applied those modifications to Lone Star. And then the third thing you need to download is the scoring and feedback form. The scoring is really, really tough. And it's important that anyone who is applying for it knows how your applications are going to be scored and reviewed. Next bullet here says, carefully read the application rubric, the modified rubric, the scoring and feedback forms to gain a clear understanding of how applications will be scored. On the same checklist, your next step will be to visit www.texas.schoolcounselorawards.org and log in as a new user to obtain a username and password for the ASCA portal. You will be submitting your final product on the ASCA portal at that website, okay? Next bullet, complete all sections according to the original and modified rubrics. Next bullet, completed applications consist of the response to school closure questions 1 through 9, any writing pieces the rubrics are requesting, the ASCA forms, ASCA templates, any reflections, depending on what level you are, it's going to ask for reflections, and any supplemental documentation. All of those items must be put in the order of the rubric you are using, whether that is bronze, silver, or gold. Once the completed application pieces are organized in the order of the rubric, they must be scanned and uploaded as one PDF file. And you will upload that to the TexasSchoolCounselorAwards.org website. It's very important that you do organize it according to the rubric and that it is one piece. That one entire application, which is going to be kind of long, will be sent out to your reviewers. Unfortunately, on the ASCA portal platform, it doesn't give us space to have like all different kinds of files in there. That's why we are asking for you to keep all of your things together in one document and upload it together as one piece. And then finally, on the applicant checklist, your file name. So your file name is going to be really, really important. Your file name must be labeled with the school name and award level. For example, Green Hills ES for elementary school .bronze. If you can label it like these examples here, then it'll be easy for us to identify who you are and then send it out to the appropriate reviewers, because we need to know what level the application is. And then finally, the due date. We have extended the due date to October the 1st because of COVID-19. We know that since we're having such an unusual start to our school year, that you're probably going to need just a little bit of extra time. So we decided to extend the date to October 1st, and that is for all levels. Bronze, silver, and gold will be extended to October the 1st, and we hope that that helps you in preparing. Next is, how will my school be scored? This is one of the forms that you're actually downloading because we think it's really, really important that you understand how it's going to be scored. So on that scoring sheet, every section is represented. What I did was I just pulled out one little section so that you can see and understand how it will be scored. So this is section 1.f, mission reflection. It says earn 1 point if descriptors are met. Reflect on the following. There's a maximum of 250 words per item. So you can see that the descriptor chart here shows 1.f1, 1.f2, 1.f3, and 4. And the questions are how the mission statement was developed. So the applicant will have to explain how the mission statement was developed. On F2, How was the school counseling program addressed? How did they address equity, access, and success for every student? F3, how the school counseling program addresses the long-range results for every student. And F4, how the mission statement is communicated to administrators, teachers, and stakeholders. So your reviewer on your mission reflection is going to be looking for these 4 things. If you look over to the right, the next box says yes or no. It's asking yes or no, do they have F1? Yes or no, do they have F2, F3, and F4? And if you look over at the far right column, it says all yeses equals 1 point for section 1.F. So that's how it will be scored. You'll get 1 point for all 4 of those items. If you get a no somewhere in there, that means you can't get that 1 point for section 1.F. So then the reviewers will record their score in that section, and then they will provide feedback for you in that section after they have reviewed your entire application. So I want to stop just right there and see, check in with Monica and see if there are any questions.
No, there's no questions yet.
Okay, fantastic. Something will come up, I know. So I'm gonna turn it over now to our bronze lead person, and that is Mireya Reyes. I'm gonna kind of turn over the stage to her. And Mireya, are you on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Do you want me to, Mireya? Do you want me to put up the modified rubric for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. So everybody just hold tight with me, and I am going to switch over to another form.
Oh, what a cute picture.
Yeah, sorry, you guys can see my family there. Okay, Mireya, can everybody see that?
Yes.
I hope so. Okay.
So one of the things, can I request control?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So one of the things that we wanted you guys to, those of you that are going to do the silver, this one, the bronze, is right here where it says all bronze applicants must answer these questions. It's very important to take a look at those questions, because it's going to give the reviewers an opportunity to see, like, okay, what happened in your school? It kind of gives them context to what happened during the COVID closure. So it's very important that you're able, can you scroll down, Myra?
Yes.
You see here how we put all bronze applicants must submit responses to these questions. Right. You know, number 1 and 2 are for sure very important. And then it says if you were able to deliver the school counseling program virtually, then you answer the next questions. And I think this is very important. Although you're not going to get a score per se, it's going to give the reviewers an opportunity to see, okay, what happened in your campus? How were you able to continue working with your kiddos, and how effective was your program even though you were not there? So it gives them that background information as to why, and it can even give them a reason as to why, you know, certain things worked and why others didn't. So I think this piece is going to be like super important, even if you don't get any points for it, to really take your time and answer these questions, you know, to the best of your ability, because again, it'll give them that background picture, and I'll give them an insight to as to what your school was going through during the closure. Does anybody have any questions on these? No? Okay, so the most important thing about bronze is, like it was mentioned before, when we're talking about bronze, is really just a required documentation. You know, do you have a vision and mission statement? Do you have your annual student outcome goals? Basically, you have the forms filled out. And I want to say it's that easy, but it really, you need to put a little bit like emphasis on the rubric. I think that's the biggest key, because I've been on both sides where we filled it out as a recipient, but I have also been a reviewer, and you'd be surprised that sometimes we think, oh, it's just asking for this information, but until you read the rubric right, then you'll know what you're missing. Like those little things that can make a difference between a yes or a no can be a difference between 1 or 2 words. So it's very important. Like the vision, it says, what will your students be able to look or do 15 years down the road? And so being able to explain that in your vision is going to be very important, because sometimes our visions are just the here and now. And if we don't have that statement about, 15 years down the road, that can be the difference between a yes or a no. And we might think like, oh yeah, it's talking about the future, but it really might not reflect that. So it's just really paying attention to those keywords, and first, of course, filling it out just like, how it says here, but then putting on like a lens of a reviewer, and being hard and honest on yourself. Like, do I have this? Do I have that? Very, during the bronze, we don't have to do any reflections, but that doesn't mean you can't reflect on what you wrote and see if you go in there with a critical eye, as since you'll have the rubrics, check yourself. Does my vision statement talk about 15 years down the road? Does my mission statement reflect the school's mission statement? So a lot of the times it's not explicit as include your vision statement, the school one, and the district, but it does pretty much ask you to do that, because there's going to be a time where you have to compare all 3, and you have to justify why it matches or why it doesn't match. So it's kind of just like making sure that you pay attention to any of those keywords. If you see section 1, 2, and 3, and 4, the only one modified right here is going to be number 4. That's the annual administrative conference. That's usually you're only going to need one for the fall. That's basically your calendar for the fall. So make sure you have that. And your advisory council, they're waiving the spring advisory council, and they're saying that if you want to submit it, to go ahead and do so for feedback, even though it's not going to be scored. I would, if possible, if somebody could give me feedback, because I know in the following year I'm going to apply for silver, and I'm going to have to write those reflections. Then if I have it, I would include it. Okay. Number 6 is the calendars, the annual and weekly. Again, there is no change there. You still need to have weekly calendars and annual calendars. Is there any change for that one, Myra?
I'm sorry, say that again.
There's no change for that one, right? Because you can submit one for January or February, anything before the closure.
That's correct.
Okay. Lesson plans, again, make sure that they are complete. I would make sure that I follow the model that they have on the book, like to the T, because it will make the difference as a rater to be able to see, okay, check, 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 check. I know a lot of the times we stick to what we know, but try to follow the book the way it is. It's going to make it easier on the long run. Okay, so this is where the modifications start. On section 8, the result reports. Again, that's 7 automatic points. But if you, because it's not going to be scored, because it's again talking about the results. Small group report is also going to be an automatic for you all. And then the closing the gap, you're going to get 4 points automatically. But if you answer, but you have to answer section A, B, C, and D. So again, it's, did you use the template? Do you have the goal statement? Do you have your action plan and your data collection plan? So it's the actual sheets filled out. So again, it's just putting the time to fill out the sheets correctly, and making sure that that you match what they're saying with what you're putting, so that it's easier for whoever's reviewing your information can see it, and also for you, so that when you do transfer to the other stages of the award, that you're very familiar with the forms. So honestly, it's just becoming super familiar with the forms and knowing that rubric front and back.
Monica, do you have any questions? Everybody's just trying to take it in, huh?
Yes, no questions yet.
Okay, guys, remember that this is the modified rubric. You have to use the original rubric along with this one, because as you can see from this modified one, it doesn't tell you all the details that are required for a vision and mission statement.
Mhm.
It doesn't tell you on this modified rubric all the details that are required for your annual student outcome goals. So you do have to use them side by side, okay?
Yes, you do. And I'm telling that's where those keywords are in that rubric, that ask a rubric, where it tells you, okay, on your vision, make sure you tell me what's going on 15 years down the road, or, why does your mission statement not follow your school's mission statement, or why does it, or how does it? And so make sure that you key in on those little words, because they will make a difference.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else you need to go over, Mireya, or should we turn it over?
No, I'm done. I just want to say, guys, if you do finish your bronze and you want me to take a look at it, just email me. I'll give you some suggestions. I've been on both sides of the road, basically, and I've also applied to ramp and was butchered. So I know. I mean, I haven't been a winner yet, but I know how hard they can grade. So that's also a very valuable experience for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mireya. Jennifer,
Yes.
you're next.
So Myra, I think you can stop sharing.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Just because I'm going to show a couple of things.
Okay. Perfect.
So for the silver, it's basically the same as the bronze. The only thing you're doing is for the first 5 sections, you're adding the reflection piece. So you're doing everything for bronze and then reflections for the first 5 components. These books are very, very, very helpful and important. These will help you write your mission and your vision correctly. These will help you write your lesson plans correctly, all of those things. And like Mireya was saying, it's important to look at the different components, because you have to have 4 different things in order just to get 1 point. And if one of those 4 things is missing, then you're not getting that 1 point, and every point matters. When applying, it was easiest to print out all the different things that are required and kind of lay them out. Even, your mindsets and behaviors, that what you put on there has to match the lesson plans. So looking even for the smallest of details to make sure that everything correlates. So there's the RAMP scoring rubric, right? And then if you're applying with LASCA, and you're going to have to excuse this because I have notes all over mine. With LASCA, you're going to print a scoring rubric off of the LASCA website, whether it's for bronze or silver, and that's going to help you. So just lay everything out side by side. And then, of course, this year, there are the modifications that Mireya was talking about whenever she referenced bronze. Really, this is the year to apply. When else are you going to ever be able to submit and not have to submit data for sections 8, 9, and part of 10. And I think sometimes that's the part that we need to improve on, right, is our data collecting. So most definitely doing that and going over everything very carefully to make sure the different components align. We write our vision, mission, we write our lesson plans, we do our mindsets and behaviors, but really correlating all of those and making sure that they're aligned to one another and that they all say the same thing and send the same message is important, because when we're doing them as separate components, we might miss connections that need to be made across the documents. So silver is just the bronze, but adding the reflections, the first 5 reflections. And then, of course, then you go up to gold or ramp.
And I was going to add it that they also have to match your at the end, that they meet your goals, that everything that you did had an effect on your goal and on your results. So that the lesson plans that you put in are so that you could show how it impacted your goals, how it impacted your results. So not just random lessons that are specific to what your, what your goal is, what your outcomes are, so they can see the correlation.
Okay, so Jennifer, do you have anything else on that? Or does anybody have any questions for Jennifer?
Any questions?
No questions coming in.
No questions yet.
That's my partner.
Huh?
That's my partner.
Hi, Patsy. Okay, she's sending you hearts and love. Okay, so now we're going to move over to Golden Ramp. Okay, and I am going to share a form, and Monica and I are going to tackle that one. If you just give me a second so I can go back to sharing that form.
And so while you're sharing that, Myra,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give some more resources. Besides the 2 books, these are awesome guides. As you can see, I've tabbed mine. I have notes everywhere, but you can also use the ASCA website. They have some really awesome webinars for each component. It gives you really great detail on what you need to complete in each component. So definitely, if you have a question on one of the components and what does it look like, what have other schools done, you can go on to those webinars, and those are free to any ASCA member. So take a look at those, just another resource.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on to Gold and Ramp. As you can see, this rubric is the original rubric, and you can see, just taking a peek at this, those are all the little details that need to be met. Okay, that's why you need to use them side by side. Use the original rubric along with the modified one, so that you can see what modifications were made, as the girls talked about just a few minutes ago. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of look at the vision and mission statement. Monica, you can see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're starting out with the vision statement. The school counseling program vision statement communicates what school counselors hope to see for their students 5 to 15 years in the future. And then the mission statement, the school counseling program mission statement provides the focus and direction to reach the vision. It ensures all students benefit from a school counseling program emphasizing equity, access, success, and long-range results. Now, if you remember the 3rd edition, these were, I believe, separate. Now they're together. They're together in one section. So it's vision and mission together. You will see that how this rubric is put together. It kind of gives you an explanation of what a vision statement is, what a mission statement is, but then it gives you some guidance on what you need to include for this section. And what you need to include is your school counseling vision statement, separately the mission statement, and the school and district vision and or mission statements if they are available. Just a quick note, your vision and mission statement should be written on a Word document. You can just, there's no form for that. You're just writing it on a Word document. Going on to 1.A school counseling vision statement, you'll earn 1 point if this descriptor is met. Does it describe the future world 5 to 15 years in the future where best possible student outcomes are achieved? So you are welcome to go and research other vision statements that are out there and tweak them to make it your own, but really have conversations with your team. If you're lucky enough to have a team, if you're a singleton, then you will speak with yourself about what your vision is for your students 5 to 15 years in the future. And like Mireya said, make sure that you're not only thinking in terms of academics, but that you're really thinking about what you want to see your kids doing in the future, holistically, right? Because we see kids holistically. We don't just see them academically. The vision statement requirements, you'll earn 1 point if these 2 descriptors are met. 1.B1, include the school vision statement or a statement explaining why it isn't provided. And 1B2 says aligns with the school vision statement or includes an explanation regarding the lack of alignment. You're going to see that a lot. Things need to be aligned. And really, I think what they're doing is they're trying to make things purposeful. You're not just going to, do a lesson for no reason. You're going to do a lesson because kids are in need of that content. And maybe that is tied or should be tied to your goals and other things. So you're going to see the word alignment a lot. Things need to be connected. Okay. Then 1C, school counseling mission statement. 1 point for this one also. 1C1 describes school counseling programs' overarching focus or purpose as described in the Ask a National model. 1C2 emphasizes equity, access, and success for every student. 1C3 emphasizes long-range results for every student. Okay, so you'll have to meet those 3 descriptors to get 1 point for that. And I'm going to stop there on vision and mission. I don't want to read the whole thing to you, but that is kind of the attention and detail that you're going to need for each section. Okay. And Monica and Tammy, I know you're on and you're listening, so you guys jump in whenever you need to on this. So I'm going to move on if there are no questions yet. I know your wheels are turning. Number 2, annual student outcome goals. This section is worth 6 points. Annual student outcome goals identify the measurable impact on student achievement, attendance, or discipline. They guide implementation of school counseling activities and interventions and promote the school counseling program's vision and mission. And it says here, it's giving you some guidance. It says here, upload the following documents. Your school data summary. This is an ASCA form. You have to, I would include it. If they are printing it right here in some black and white and they're telling you to upload it, upload the school data summary. It is an ASCA form. The next bullet says 1 annual student outcome goal plan per goal statement. So you do have to use the ASCA template that they give you to write out your goal. And then any other supporting documentation that you have for this, you upload that in your final piece, in your final application. And then I don't really want to read the rest of it, but Monica, do you have anything on this one? Tammy?
Just when you're thinking of what is your supporting documentation, those are like your PEIMS reports, your discipline reports, even district-wide or statewide, that's what you would upload. So how do you connect that documentation to what your outcome goal is, your student outcome goal is?
Perfect.
I was going to say, that's good. Perfect. What I was going to say.
Tammy, did you want to say something about the attendance and the discipline when you're writing a goal?
You mean for this coming year?
Yeah. Remember? Yes, because of the
discussed
pandemic.
yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're thinking about your attendance and your possibly a behavioral goal, I know that you're working on this and you're going to be submitting, for those of you that are submitting for this year for the 2020 submission. Of course, you're using your data from last year. And you won't have that data, and you're not going to, let me see how I'm going to explain this. When you're submitting for next year, let me put it this way. The data that you're using, remember, you have to compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So as you're comparing your attendance data, you're not going to be writing goals that are focusing on attendance from this past year, comparing it with attendance from this year, because that's going to be comparing apples to oranges, because it's 2 different sets, because we are working on remote learning, and most of course, across the state of Texas is working on remote learning as well. So like we discussed yesterday in our elementary meeting, you can use this first 9 weeks as baseline data, and then you can write your student outcome goals based off of that first 9 weeks outcome data. Now, if you're applying for this year, of course, you're just going to follow the rubric, which you already have your outcome goals done. But if you're applying for this next year, remember, you can't compare this last year's attendance or behavior to this year's attendance or behavior as you're looking at that data. Is that what you wanted me to discuss, Myra?
Yeah, I just want people to be mindful of that because
Mhm.
we're in you know, kind of in a weird situation here, and it's important for them to know that it can't be apples to oranges.
Exactly. And as we go through this year, as we see how long we're going to be in remote learning, that will make an impact on that as well. And remember, you're going to, as your goals, writing your goals, please think about the fact that you're going to have some students face-to-face this year, and you're going to have some students that are remote the entire year and some students that are remote for the first 9 weeks, the first semester. So you're going to really have to think about those goals because not everybody's going to be learning in the same setting. So your attendance and your behavior are going to be and your achievement is going to be very different for all of those, I think. But if you're thinking about applying right now for October of this year, which is in a couple of months, of course your data is already the goals that you had previously. So, right.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to section 3. Classroom and group mindsets and behaviors action plan. This is worth 5 points. The classroom and group mindsets and behaviors action plan helps support counselors create an effective plan to teach students the knowledge, attitude, and skills appropriate for their developmental level, driven by specific ASCA mindsets and behaviors for student success. The purpose of the classroom and group mindsets and behaviors action plan is to provide an overview of the delivery of direct student services in classroom, large group, and small group settings. Here's your guidance. Upload the following document: the classroom and group mindsets and behaviors action plan. That has to be uploaded for this section. Monica, do you have anything to say on this one?
Just when you're selecting these mindsets and behaviors, they're going to connect to your lesson plans and your small group. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on to number 4. The annual administrative conference. This section is worth 5 points, and it is: the annual administrative conference is a formal discussion between school counselors and their supervising administrator. These are the following documents that need to be uploaded for this section: a completed annual administrative conference template for each school counselor, a completed use of time calculator for each school counselor, one from the fall and one from the spring. Those are both ASCA forms, okay? And then any other supporting documentation that you may have. And I just want to draw your eye to 4B1. The conference was held and template signed by the school counselor and supervising administrator within the first 2 months of the school year. So nothing has changed here. That is still the same as it's always been. Don't forget that if you're looking at Gold or Ramp, your administrative conference from last year would have had to have been signed within the first 2 months of that school year, okay? And then the use of time form, that's an ASCA form. It is required to be uploaded for this section. So be mindful of that too. And that is 4.C, use of time, previous school year documentation provided.
Myra, can I just say on that what we discussed yesterday as well? On
Yes.
here, you also have to have your student outcome goals written on this document as well. And I know we had questions about that. If you're applying for 2021 and you're not writing your goals until after this first 9 weeks so that you have some baseline data, what are you going to do? If that's the case and you're applying for Gold or you're applying for Ramp, then I think we can talk to you individually to help you out with that, to make sure that you have that goal written and it's on there and everything is good to go. Okay, so don't worry about that. We can talk to everybody individually about that.
Perfect, thank you.
Can I
also, sorry.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
This section has been modified for just this year where you don't have to include the use of time calculator from spring. So you only have to submit the use of time calculator from the fall.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And then I just wanted to add, on 4D, the supporting documentation, a lot of times that we don't think of that is, you know, when you do meet with your administrators, that you do take some minutes, you take some notes, and you have that date, because that is part of your supporting documentation, and that is one whole point. And so make sure that you submit that. And then also, if you are a team, a school counseling team, that you sit down with your team to create what you're going to present to your administrator. And so making sure that you have those minutes and the date that you met.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Okay, section 5, advisory council. This section is worth 6 points. The advisory council is a representative group of stakeholders selected to review and advise on the implementation of the school counseling program. It is explicitly focused on the school counseling program and gives a voice to stakeholders through dialogue and critique. The council meets at least twice a year and maintains an agenda and minutes for each meeting. Upload the following documents: your fall and spring advisory council agendas, the fall and spring advisory council minutes, and any supporting documentation. ASCA has provided us now through the 4th edition agenda forms and minute forms. So please use those. And so an example of supporting documentation might be the PowerPoint that you used, if you used one for your advisory council. That would be an example of supporting documentation that you would provide for this section. Monica, anything else? Tammy?
No, I think you got it all.
Yeah?
Yes.
No, I think that's good.
Okay. All righty. And I think, remind me, ladies, is there anything taken out on the modified rubric for section 5, or is it the same?
It has been modified.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So you don't have to submit anything for the spring. You don't have to submit a spring agenda, spring minutes, or anything supporting the spring. You just have to do all of that for the fall.
Okay. So just
And the reflection focuses on the fall meeting only.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So the reflection is only on the fall as well. Okay, so you forget the second semester basically. All right. Okay, moving on to section 6, which is on calendars. And we're looking at annual calendars and weekly calendars. This section is worth 5 points. School counselors develop and publish calendars of school counseling events to inform students, parents, teachers, and administrators of what, when, and where school counseling activities will be held. For the annual calendar, the school counseling program has one annual calendar that includes all major school counseling activities delivered or coordinated by the school counselors. For your weekly calendars, each school counselor submits 2 weekly calendars, one from fall, one from spring, that includes all activities with all student identification removed to protect for confidentiality. Upload the following documents. You must upload 1 annual calendar. You must upload 2 weekly calendars, one from fall, one from spring, for each school counselor. Jennifer, we have modifications on this one?
No, no modifications for this section.
What we do for the week, there's no modifications, but you would submit for spring, January, February, or March for the weekly.
Yes.
And the annual, you just submit all of it, even though you didn't do the stuff from March on.
Okay. Moving on to section 7, which is lesson plans, classroom and group. This section is worth 5 points. Lesson plans provide details about what will be delivered, to whom it will be delivered, how it will be delivered, and how student attainment of the objectives will be measured. Upload the following documents: mindsets and behaviors, your pre and post assessments, pretest as administered before each standalone lesson or before the first lesson group session, and your post tests are administered after each standalone lesson or after last lesson of unit or group session. And there are no modifications on this one, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so nothing for COVID-19. So everything that you see here will be required.
Yes.
Okay,
Except for the reflection for bronze and silver.
correct, except for the reflection on bronze and silver. All right. Section 8, classroom instruction results report. This section is worth 7 points. I'm going to go over it, just that first piece of it, even though you really are not going to be submitting anything for this section due to the modifications made by ASCA for RAMP. The classroom and group mindsets and behaviors results report analyzes the 3 classroom lessons or 1 unit highlighted in section 7. Information is inserted from the results report template into the appropriate section in the online application. And this is what you would have uploaded for this section. Upload the following documents: the mindsets and behaviors data results graph and outcome data results graph. So because of the modifications that ASCA put out, remember section 8 is not required. You do not have to submit anything. Those 7 points will automatically be awarded to you. And moving on to section 9, same deal as section 8, by the way. Small group results report. This section is worth 7 points. The small group results report is used to organize and report results of group lessons. School counselors analyze the classroom and group mindsets and behaviors results report to determine the effectiveness of the small group activities and inform program improvement. And the 2 documents you would have uploaded are the ASCA mindsets and behaviors data results graph and the outcome data results graph. But because of COVID-19 and the modifications made, you will not submit anything for section 9, but you will be awarded those 7 points. And section 10, closing the gap, action plan and results report. This section is worth 8 points. And it is. The closing the gap action plan and results report is goal-driven and includes documentation of a variety of activities and services used to close academic, attendance, or discipline discrepancies. Upload the following documents: ASCA mindsets and behaviors data results graph and the outcome data results graph. So I believe the modifications here, Jennifer, if you can help me out, I think that A, B, C, and D are required. And E, F, G, and H are not required to submit. You will be awarded those 4 points. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And because we are using the 4th edition, that brings us to the end of Gold and RAMP. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. Bear with me. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So remember, Lone Star Awards, bronze, silver, and gold are due October the 1st. If you are applying for RAMP, It is due October the 15th. We recommend that you not submit on October the 15th. That's really a crazy day. If you could submit it on October the 14th, that would be great. Tammy, do you think they're safe if worse comes to worse and they have to submit October the 15th in the morning? Do you think that they're still okay to do that? I mean, I know that they have the whole of the 15th, but what is your recommendation for that?
Well, my recommendation is that you submit beforehand. But if you submit in the morning, I mean, but I would truly submit beforehand, because there's been cases where people couldn't get their documentation to go through. And if it's not there at the cutoff time that they say, and remember, we're talking not Mountain Time, not Central Time, but we're talking East Coast time. So if it's not there in time, they will not accept it at all. No excuses, no excuses. So please try to have it done by the 14th and the 15th in the morning. Do not wait until like 9 o'clock on the 15th night, please.
And Tammy, since we have you on the line, is there any other advice that you would give them? I mean, obviously, as the Lone Star Committee, we're going to be providing a little bit more instruction for counselors across the state of Texas, but is there any other advice that you would give them regarding RAMP? You are a lead RAMP reviewer. You've been a lead RAMP reviewer for many, many years. You have a very close relationship with ASCA. What other advice would you give applicants who are thinking about applying to RAMP?
I think the biggest thing, and I think, Mireya, you hit the nail on the head a while ago when you were talking, but follow the rubric to the exact T. If it says to do something, do it exactly that way. Don't assume that your reviewer is going to understand what you're talking about. You must explain it, everything very carefully, especially when it comes to the reflections that you're doing. So please don't leave anything out. And now the scoring rubric is different for this 4th edition because you get 1 point per little section. But even missing 1 point per one of those 2 little sections could be enough to completely knock you out. So follow the rubric exactly as it says, and don't leave anything out. Have other people read your application, because you may think that you're saying something and somebody else reads it and they can't find it. And I'll tell you, as a lead RAMP reviewer, that happens all the time. And of course, we have teams that review, and there's 3 people. And then as a lead RAMP reviewer, I'm on the team with them, leading them. And even the reviewers sometimes see things differently. So have other people read your application and make sure they see exactly what you think you're saying. So if they don't see it, rewrite it, because you want to make sure that everything is in there very, very clearly. And don't cut corners. Make sure that you just explain everything very carefully. But like I say, and Mireya talked about it when they applied, it was kind of sad because we all thought that everything was in there that needed to be in there. However, the other reviewers didn't see it that way. So you just need to make sure that other people read your application and make sure that everybody sees exactly what you think you're saying. Make sure they understand it very, very clearly. So I think that would be my biggest recommendation. And don't make little mistakes. Don't make little mistakes like a misspelled word, or when you submit and it's too long and like 2 sentences are cut off at the bottom, or you label your files in a really weird kind of way, which now you really don't label them anymore that way. But just reread everything and just make sure it's perfection. That's really what you have to be looking for in your head, is perfection. You can't think, looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. You have to be saying in your head, this is perfect, because that's what you want to submit, is perfection in your mind. Okay.
So Tammy, it's a good idea to have many eyes on each of those sections. Yes. The reflections, if they're applying to RAMP, the reflections are very important, correct?
Exactly. The reflections are very important. And I see Monica just put there, use a specific verbiage in the rubric. Exactly. If it says, tell us about equity, access, and that's one of the big ones. And I want you guys to write this one down, 1.F.2. That's the very first one up in the vision mission part. And everybody gets dinged on that. And you would think that you would want to get all your points in the vision and the mission, because if you lose points in the vision and the mission, it's kind of, we see that over and over again, then it's all over, it's all over for you. So 1.F.2, look at that one very carefully. It talks about, do we have equity and access for all students? And that's very, very hard to explain. So when you write your paragraph, have other people read it. Have your principal read it. Have people that are not counselors read your application and say, does that show that we have equity and access for all students or not really? Because you want somebody that doesn't understand what you do to read it, because everybody's very different. So use the exact verbiage and have lots of people read it, not just counselors.
Okay. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, so we are going to move over to questions. I know that we went over a whole lot in a short amount of time. This, I mean, just looking at it, you can see that it requires time to really digest. And you guys are just digesting what we just gave you right now. We wanted to give you really an overview. We didn't want to get in too deep. We just wanted you to understand what you need to do to get on this what do you call it, on this rolling ball and the hamster wheel. There we go, on the hamster wheel. So just take a deep breath and try to absorb it all. And if you have any questions right now, we're happy to take them. If not, if you don't have questions right now and you want to take a moment to read the rubrics side by side, print them up, read them side by side, you can always get a hold of us at lascaawards@gmail.com. Many of you probably have our work emails. You are more than welcome to contact myself there if you'd like, or you can contact us at lascaawards@gmail.com. But if there are any questions, I can't see them. Monica, if you see anything, let me know. I'm going to unshare this screen now. And remember that this recording will be available for you to watch at a later time, if need be.
So Sarah did ask in the chat, and so for pre-K-8, does that mean that they need to have one annual calendar together and not separate? And so I did share with her in the chat that it does need to be together, because it's the annual calendar is for the school counseling program at the school. And so do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, that's perfect.
Okay. And then Virginia asked, she has a new counselor at her school. So she's asking, would it be just her information, or does she need to include the information from the counselor that left? And so I did share with her on the chat that they are reporting for last school year, so that they would need to submit the information from last school year that includes that school counselor from last year.
Perfect. Yeah, remember that's a big key thing to remember, is that when you are applying for RAMP, you're applying based off of last year's information. And really, when you're applying for Lone Star, Bronze, Silver, or Gold, you are applying based off of last year's information, not current year. And so we do know that counselors come and go, retire. The lucky ones get to retire, or they move away and go, to another adventure. That happens all the time. If you have those kinds of questions, you can direct them at us, and we'll kind of help you figure it out.
And Myra, can I ask Myra, Monica, Jennifer, and Media, can you guys talk a little bit about this has to be based on the 4th edition forms, correct? That they're submitting for Lone Star for sure. So what if a counseling team did not use the 4th edition forms this past year and they used the 3rd edition forms?
That's a really great question, Tammy. I don't know how to answer it.
So,
because I remember that ASCA put out, Monica, do you know how to answer it? Or Jennifer? I see Jennifer jumping out of her chair.
Okay. So I know that last year, after they announced the 4th edition, I know we made announcements on the LASCA website that we were rolling out the 4th edition with the templates. I know within our district, it was hard to roll over those forms right away, but that you did present the 3rd edition and also the 4th edition. So I know that information was out there. So I don't know how easy it would be able to transfer, but the templates were out there.
Okay. Jennifer?
I I'm looking because I remember Aska saying something about the transitioning and you could use the third or fourth
Yes.
edition for some years and then you start with the fourth. So I'm looking to see if I
And-
can
and-
find the exact.
And Jennifer, it is, for this year, it is still the third edition for Ramp. But I'm
Okay.
just talking for Lone Star. For Ramp, you can still use the third edition for this year, and then next year's the fourth edition only. But I'm just wondering for Lone Star, and I know that this is going to be for everybody across the state. So if there's schools out there that didn't use fourth edition,
I mean, I didn't understand you. I didn't understand that. I thought we were only talking in terms of ramp. But as far as Lone Star goes, if you used a third edition form last year and now we're moving over to fourth edition, turn in your last year's forms. When you turn them into us, we're going to tell you, okay, that's fine. You turned in third edition forms. That's okay. But moving forward, you must use fourth edition forms from now on. Okay, that's for Lone Star. That's for bronze
yes.
and silver, and gold. But if you are a person that is applying for gold and also applying for ramp, it's probably in your best interest to transfer those forms over, I think, to a fourth edition, just to make life easy on yourself. But if you're a bronze or a silver, you have third edition, turn them in, we'll take them. But be prepared. We're going to tell you, you must use fourth edition forms from now on. Sorry, Tammy, I misunderstood you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Because I
Question.
yes, no, not a problem.
Okay. Everybody's digesting. I can see it in your eyes. Are we okay? Are you feeling stressed? I see nervous laughter out there. It's okay, you guys. Just take one deep breath and start tackling it from the beginning. The honest truth is that you have the majority of this stuff already. You have almost all of it. It's looking at the pieces that maybe you don't have and figuring out, can I still apply without those? And if you're worried about things like that, please reach out to us and we can look at what you have and then give you some advice on that. But I want to say you guys have the majority of it. So I think you're in good standing. It's just a matter of, okay, I'm going to do this. Let's go. Let's do it. We can do this. So if I think Mireya touched on this earlier, if there was any a year to apply, this is the year. Ramp is never awarded points, and you not have to submit something. They are basically awarding 19 points. They're awarding 19 points. That's a lot. That's a lot. That doesn't happen. So please go back to your counseling teams, talk it over, print out your rubrics, and reach out to us if you need help. But before I close up here, if there's any other questions or you feel like you would rather, talk to us alone, please let us know and we can sit down with you. So are there any other questions right now that are just on the top of your head?
Myra, I'm going to stop recording just in case they have some questions for us.
Okay, thank you.
For our district, yes.